I-40 male, recently returned home about a month ago after an extended stay out of state to care for my mom, who eventually lost her battle with cancer. I was away for a couple of months, but as soon as I got back, I knew something was off with my wife, 35. She seemed distant, staring off into space like she was nervous about something. I kept asking her if she was okay. She just kept telling me she was fine. Well, about a week ago, she finally sat me down and said she had something to tell me. Apparently, while I was away, she took up salsa dancing again and started going back out to the clubs. While I was away, she never mentioned this to me. I always thought she was just off visiting her sister. A little background. My wife danced for about 8 years, and she's a terrific dancer. I knew this when I met her. We actually met at a club, and I literally swept her off her feet. I'm also a pretty good dancer myself. Well, about 5 years ago, she suddenly lost all interest in dancing. No explanation. Nothing, just quit cold turkey. As far as I can tell, something weird happened between her and her other regular dance partner, 33, male. She never really told me what it was, and she always got mad every time I asked about him, so I just dropped it. I actually had no problem with it because I never really liked the guy anyway. He just rubbed me the wrong way. Whenever we were out dancing socially, I always felt like he was trying to turn it into some weird competition between the two of us whenever we took turns dancing with my wife. I never really let it bother me. I can hold my own on the dance floor, and I'm not the jealous type. My wife always danced way more intimately with me anyway, so I just blew it off. I was always civil to the guy and tolerated him for my wife's sake. They were dancing before we met anyway, so it was no big deal to me. I knew who she was going home with every night anyway. When she gave up dancing, I never gave it a second thought to stop myself. I knew she would have a problem with me going without her, so there wasn't even a hint of hesitation on my part at all. I love my wife very much, and I would never do anything to make her feel uncomfortable. Anyway, she's got this terrified look on her face. I just laughed and asked her why she was so afraid to tell me about this. I said, "You could have just told me all this when I was away. What's the big deal? You're a big girl, so you went dancing while I was away. I'm not your jailer." Then she drops a bombshell on me and tells me that while I was away, she ran into her ex-partner at the club, and now they have an opportunity to travel and compete. I just kind of sat there numb. Now I know why she waited so long to tell me. I was a little hurt at first because I was still dealing with the loss of my mom, and now my wife is suddenly playing hide and go dance with me. Well, I hate to admit it, but I sort of lost my cool and snapped at her. Why all the James Bond secrecy? Is there something else I need to know about you and this guy? She gets defensive and says, "See, that's why I waited so long to tell you. Competing has always been a dream of mine. This is news to me, and I knew you would react like this." Well, duh. And of course, I get pissed, walk out of the room, and tell her to do whatever she wants to. After about 30 minutes, I realized I was being kind of a jerk for snapping at her and walking out like that. I went back in, apologized, and told her I had no idea this was a dream of hers. I told her I loved her and I would support her if this is something that she really wants to do. But I also think we should do it together. First, there's no way I'm sitting at home alone while you travel all over dancing. Not going to happen. I'm going with you. That's non-negotiable. Second, you and I are going to start dancing again together as a couple. She cried, smiled, and asked if I would really do all that for her. I reassured her, expressing my love and willingness to support her. After an intimate moment, she headed for a shower, leaving her phone unattended. A new text message from her dance partner flashed on the screen, and my curiosity led me to discover a conversation that left me infuriated. The messages revealed his persistence in questioning whether she had disclosed their renewed connection to me. It became evident that she had concealed their interactions, and his messages hinted at a desire for more than just a dance partnership. It was more than having an affair, and they were trying to hide things from me. Anger surged through me, and my initial instinct was to confront him violently. My emotions ran high, and my ego took a hit. When she returned from the shower, I tossed the phone onto the bed, demanding an explanation. Reading the messages, she panicked, insisting it wasn't what it seemed and that I wasn't supposed to see them. I challenged her, asking how she'd feel if our roles were reversed. Doubt lingered as I questioned whether there were other secrets she hadn't shared. She claimed it was a mistake, admitting to expressing missing their dance chemistry, but insisting it wasn't romantic. She apologized repeatedly, assuring me it was an error and that she didn't want him to misinterpret her words. Despite her apologies, uncertainty and hurt lingered, leaving our relationship in a fragile state. "It's not what it looks like, blah blah blah," she says. I told her I know what I read. To me, this dude is completely disrespecting our marriage, and I'm not comfortable with her dancing with him anymore. I expressed that it's bad enough she hid all this from me, but she stopped dancing years ago because of this guy. Now, suddenly, she wants to start dancing again because of the same guy. How do you think this makes me feel? Don't you think I find all of this a tad bit odd? She keeps saying she's sorry, feels really bad, and understands if I want her to cut ties with this guy for good and walk away from the dancing. She insists our marriage means more to her. Since then, she's been the model wife. So why do I feel like the bad guy? She doesn't show it, but I feel like I'm keeping her from doing something she really wants to do. There's just something about all the mystery around this guy, the secrecy of going out dancing with him, and wanting to travel and compete with him. And those text messages are burned into my head, gnawing at me. Something doesn't feel right. Am I being paranoid? Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Update: to make a long story short, we're divorced. She had been lying to me the whole time, and it took weeks to finally get the truth out of her. First, they were sleeping together before we were married. Then, while I was away seeing about my mom, they kissed. Then it changed to they slept together once while I was away, and then it was 4 times. The SB was even in my house the night before I came home, but she swears up and down nothing happened in our home. I find that hard to believe. She still seems to think we could make it work if we both try, but it's too late for that. She doesn't seem to understand that I'm done. Her timing was horrible. I tolerated the dancing, but she screwed him before we were married and said they were just dance partners. Then she went back to him again while I was away visiting my mom, and she lied about that too. I just can't get past that level of deceit. It's a deal breaker for me. I moved into my own place, and she's still staying with her sister. It was tough at first, but now I find myself moving forward one step at a time. As crazy as it sounds, I still do love her. I wish I could just turn that off, but I can't. However, it's not like the love we had before. She looks different to me now, not like the woman I married, more like a cautionary tale. I'm past the rage stage, and to be honest with you, I just don't give a bleep anymore. So that, as they say, is that. I'm just empty right now. I've lost so much this past year that I can't even get angry anymore. I'm just going through the motions and trying to stay busy at work. I wanted to update those of you who responded to my original thread, and those of you who knew something more was going on. What can I say? You were right. Now for the second story. I'm 35, male, and she's 33, female. My ex-girlfriend cheated on me with a coworker after a 9-year relationship. I love her. She's the love of my life, but the situation killed all my confidence. I can't stop thinking about it. She cheated, and I discovered all her lies after a 1-year affair. She said at first it was only text messages, then a kiss, then one sexual encounter, just one. But I can't believe her after all the time she was lying without saying anything. We're living together, and she went to a friend's house a few days ago. I don't know what to do. I know the simple answer. I know I should forget her and start over again, but it's far from easy. I was going to propose to her in a few months on our 10th anniversary. I really imagined my life with her. We are friends, the best friends, but she killed everything. She was selfish, but she cries every day, saying sorry, saying that I don't deserve that. Still, she is asking for forgiveness and wants to restart again. I know the easy answer is to move on, but I really don't know where to start. This is hard. I really can't understand why she did that to our relationship. My heart doesn't want to break this relation, but my brain keeps telling me to move on. This freaking home feels so empty. Damn, why do people do this kind of thing to people who care for them? I've made the decision to end the relationship. I realized that I need to focus my energy on myself and not on her in this hell. I need time, and during that time, I need to be alone to think about my next moves and to rediscover joy in life. I ended things with her, and she's broken. It's sad, but I need to move on from her. Maybe in the future, we will find our way back to each other. Who knows? I don't care for now, and I'm sure that will not happen, haha. Thank you all for your time and your words. Sometimes it's hard not to have someone to talk to, and here, I found some really good advice and people who shared their time with me. Now, I need to find some peace. I'll be around if someone wants to talk and, in the future, share some insight with another lost soul.
Dear listener, if you have reached this far, please click on the subscribe button. It will be a great help.
My wife Debbie is cheating on me. Like right now, she is cheating on me. No, not with my best friend or her first true love from high school. It was Hans Jorgensen from across the street. With a name like that, you immediately picture a 30-something, 6-foot-plus tall, blonde-haired prick with muscles that would have put Lou Ferrigno to shame. In reality, what you have is a 60-year-old AARP enrollee that's maybe 5 foot 4 inches tall, 300-pound asthmatic that would be lucky to see his dick with a mirror on the floor. So why is my wife screwing him? At first, I thought it was some previously unknown daddy issues. No, she was spreading her legs because he never had a sweet Valentine. Well, boo fucking who? We all have had to live with disappointment in our lives. I hated that the Indians imploded in the World Series. I lost money on those guys, damn it. That's $5 I'll never get back. But I didn't lose my moral compass because of it. Besides, there's always the Browns, right? Right? Sorry, I left for a second there, but I'm back now. Debbie has always been one for helping the helpless. Stray animals and Jehovah's Witnesses were her favorite. She always gave a kind word and a bowl of water to those who were in need. It did my heart good to see the animals leave with a smile on their face and those fucking Jehovah's Witnesses on their knees drinking from a bowl on a hot summer day. But her fucking our neighbor because he never had a Valentine? That's just too fucking much. I'm not too much on the forgive and forget bullshit unless it's for minor stuff. If your dog shits in my yard, I won't go Rambo on you. I will calmly walk over to your residence, drop my pants, and cleanse my colon on your front lawn without any harsh words or threats. By the time I get back to my place, you and your dog are forgiven and forgotten. If someone soils my marriage, now that's a different thing entirely. My wife knows my take on fidelity. We discussed it at length before we married. You cheat, it's over. But I guess the doctor pushed the needle in too deep during her last Botox injection and it fucked up her memory. Not my fault. She cheats, she pays. And so will the fat bastard. But how will I get my revenge? The thought of calling in my former Navy SEAL buddies and for some suburban action won't work. I wasn't a SEAL. Or maybe I'll hire a mob hitman with my spare cash. No, that won't work either. The mortgage, car, and credit card payments, and Debbie took all my cash. The only thing left for us poor people is good old-fashioned violence. But I don't do well in confined spaces surrounded by barbed wire and cellmates who grew up fucking pigs for Saturday night fun. There had to be a better way. Again, how? What kind of deviousness can I use to demonstrate my displeasure in the actions of the two immoral fornicators and keep my freedom? It has to be decided quickly, and it has to be done before the fuckers are done fucking. Besides, there was a neighborhood party I had to go to over at the Petermans around 7 p.m. I didn't want to go but had no choice. This year I agreed to go as Cupid. The kids love it. It was a tradition started years ago. Some father or neighborhood friend dresses up as Cupid and gives the kids a laugh. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. A fucking pansy wearing a diaper with strapped-on Tinkerbell wings carrying a miniature bow and arrow. That's partially true. Sure, it's still a diaper and Tinkerbell wings, but I'm 6 foot 2 inches tall, 230-pound muscled construction worker. I rock the suit. However, instead of a child-sized bow and arrow, I carry a Bear Threat compound bow with a max draw weight of 70 pounds. This thing will put an arrow through your chest and bury it into the tree behind you. It's not a kid's toy. Maybe I could use the costume and bow to my advantage. Before I go to the party, I can put one hell of a scare into lard ass and numbskull, letting them know they have until morning to leave town and that they had better go together. The hunting bow would be the incentive. I will not support the cheating bitch of mine after she cheated on me. I won't forgive or forget, and if the newly elected female judge in the county courthouse thinks I'll pay her alimony after she fucked that bastard, well, she's just knucking futz. He's got money, let him take care of her. After I squeezed myself into my diaper and strapped on my wings, I got a good look in the mirror. I need another drink. Even though I make Cupid look good, it's still embarrassing. After throwing another shot of whiskey down my throat, I headed out. The last thing I wanted to see was my wife fucking some fat-ass bastard, but a man's gotta to do what a man's gotta do. Jorgensen always kept his front door open using only a storm door. He allowed everyone the ability to walk in with just a hello. That's how I know he's fucking my wife. With an easy view through his door, I watched the two climb the stairs to his bedroom so they could kill my marriage. After I walked inside his house, I heard the grunting. I made it quietly up the stairs and almost lost control of my stomach, coming and going. On the bed in a 69 position was 300 pounds of fat, dripping in sweat and grunting, spread out over a 120-pound soon-to-be ex-wife. It looked like the famed white whale doing a very poor slip and slide imitation on a tan bubble-lipped fucking cheating bitch. Sorry I left there for a second, but I'm back now. I stood there for a couple seconds waiting to be noticed. I was growing impatient, not only because I wanted to get this over with, but I was losing the battle to keep from soiling my diaper. The scene wasn't pretty. The grunting and groaning went on for a few more seconds before I finally got their attention the best way I knew how. Now, with all due respect to Stangstar06, this isn't a Halloween story, but it seemed fitting. Both had their eyes closed. Guess when you're into it, you're into it. I walked over to within inches of the pair as I bent down close to the humping white whale Jorgensen and yelled, "B.O." Seriously, folks, I didn't know the guy had a bad heart. Yeah, I know it goes along with being old and fat, but I didn't know his heart was that bad. Oh well. He seized up like a car engine with a failed oil pump and collapsed on the bed. Do you know what it looks like watching 300 pounds of literal deadweight suffocate a thrashing fucking cheating whore? Sorry, it won't happen again. Well, I couldn't very well let her suffocate to death, could I? Well, could I? No, I could not. I still had some love left for the stupid bitch. I placed the bow on the floor and tried to roll the fat man off my wife. Gravity and mass did not allow for a simple roll and drop. I had to use the wall for leverage by placing my back against it and push the whale carcass with my legs. The whole upstairs shook as he hit the floor face up. Debbie gasped for air several times as her color turned more pinkish. It didn't take long before her eyes adjusted and she seen me standing there. They almost went back to their bugged-out state prior to me rolling all that weight off of her. It was time to move things along as I had a party to go to. The beach whale on the floor wasn't moving, but since he didn't go from the famed white whale to a blue whale, I figured he was still breathing. I knelt down and noticed he was indeed breathing. I guess I just scared him and he fainted. I slapped his face hard, thinking it might stir him awake. It did, and when he seen the look on my face, he almost fainted again. I continued to slap the idiot's face, getting his focus on me. Having the bow back in my hands, I emphasized the need to leave the neighborhood. The message was clear when an arrow is pointed at your head. Just because I was dressed as Cupid didn't lessen my sincerity. By now, Debbie was crying, citing every cliche from the cheater's handbook. Of course, I wasn't swayed and told her to pack her shit and get out of my house before I came back from the Peterman's party, or I might change my mind and use the bow on both of them. I had to ask her how could she throw away our marriage for the fat bastard laying on the floor. Her reply goes to helping the helpless. All she wanted was to give him a Valentine's Day to remember. She succeeded. After a quick happy Valentine's Day one finger salute to my soon-to-be ex-wife, I left the house and went to the party at the Petermans. The first half hour was filled with wolf whistles, crude remarks, and questions about my wife. Pleading ignorance on the latter, I continued my fun with the kids. The little fuckers were just as bad as the adults with the remarks. I swear that Walter's kid wants his ass kicked. I don't care if he's 13. No one walks up to me and gives me a wedgie without some sort of payback. It was about 3 hours in with the party before the concern for my wife couldn't be ignored any longer. It was also time to take off the costume, so I headed home to change. Frank Wilson and his wife came along. He wanted to borrow my cordless drill and Sheila wanted to talk to my wife. She was thinking Debbie started early with one of the bottles of wine we brought back from our Napa Valley trip and lost track of time. It was obvious Debbie listened since most of her clothes were gone. Not enough to be gone forever, but just enough for a few weeks. She probably figured if she left me alone long enough, I would get over my mad and I would take her back. After I changed, I went downstairs to see Frank drinking one of my beers at my dining room table. When I asked where Sheila was, he pointed outside and shrugged his shoulders. Sheila was outside talking to a distraught Debbie as she placed her suitcases in good old Han's car. It wasn't long before Sheila came back in. She walked up to me and gave a hug, telling me she was so sorry for what Debbie did. She said Debbie admitted to cheating on me with the old white whale. She just wanted to give him a Valentine's Day to remember, and it got out of hand. Well, no shit. Debbie hoped I would talk to her after I was done being pissed off at her. We've been friends long enough that Sheila knew that wasn't likely to happen. Long story short, I refused to listen to Debbie's bullshit. She fought the divorce for months, but eventually it went through. The settlement was fair, but with no kids and our income being equal, we split everything 50-50ths and went our own way. Jorgensen also decided it best to listen and left for places unknown. Until next time.
Dear listener, if you have reached this far, please click on the subscribe button. It will be a great help.